So just a video summarizing thematic analysis and content analysis. And remember, thematic analysis is from the first topic of social, whereas content analysis is used in learning. And so they'll come up in Unit 1 and Unit 2 respectively, but they're in one video because they are very kind of similar. I've put it in both playlists so you can watch them in either one. So this is about analyzing qualitative data, and there's different ways of doing that. We can turn it into quantitative, which is what a content analysis is for, or we can keep it as qualitative, which is what a thematic analysis is for. So a thematic analysis is a method of identifying, analyzing, and reporting on patterns or themes within qualitative data. So it emphasizes pinpointing, examining, recording patterns within the data, and we do this via what we call coding. There's two different ways of doing it: inductive analysis, which is basically reading through and writing out the themes which occur in the data as they kind of come across them. So literally, as you're going through, you write down whatever is happening, sometimes called grounded research. And there's deductive analysis, where you decide on your themes before you start. So you know what you're looking for before you go in deductive analysis. In inductive analysis, you don't. So a theme is something that is seen across lots of the data. So say you've interviewed 20 or 30 people. A theme is going to be something that is what they've said and what a large number of them said. It doesn't have to be all 30, but what a lot of them have said, or what's something that is important. It's usually much shorter than what they've actually said. It's kind of what they're getting at. It's simpler, it's distilled, it's you kind of summarizing what it is, the key points that people have mentioned time and time again. And it catches something important, as I say. So there's various different phases within this that you do with a thematic analysis. So first off, you familiarize yourself with the data. You read it lots and lots of times. You know almost before you start exactly what the people have said, because you've read it that many times. Then you generate your initial codes. So as you go through, you make a note of kind of important things they've said, and you might annotate this. So you might write along the side, say you're doing interviews about why people enjoy psychology. You might make a note of every time they say something's fun or enjoyable. When it's interesting might be a separate note. And you note all of these different things. And then you go through and you search for themes. So you look for things that come up time and time again. They might be labeled with different codes, but they have a very similar meaning. So you write out the themes, and you might highlight kind of examples of each theme. Then you review those themes and define, name them, kind of come up with what they are actually showing, before you finally summarize it in total and say, this is what my data shows. This is what people were talking about, and here are the examples of how they talked about it. So this reduces a lot of data into a more manageable amount of data, which is good, and you don't lose kind of detail as you would if you converted it to quantitative. You're still keeping what they said, what it really means, why they think a certain way. Remember, when you convert it into quantitative, you lose a lot of that detail. Depending on the type of analysis, you might be questioning its validity, whether us going in with an idea of what we're already looking for would kind of cause almost like demand characteristics, where we are picking out what it is we're looking for and ignoring other important themes. Whereas if you go in with no themes, those are more naturally emerging and they are more likely to be more valid. You have to be kind of reflective and know if you're being subjective and biased. Often this has been criticized as being unscientific in general. There's no way of knowing. It's all subjective. It's open to interpretation. And that means it's harder to repeat. It's not as objective and things like that. It's very time consuming and requires a lot of skills to pick out the themes. And I think we've already mentioned those last 2 points. One of the big criticisms is many people have said that anything goes. You are able to find evidence for any theme you're looking for, and there's not a lot of kind of stringency in how you do it. The second method then is content analysis. Content analysis, remember, is where you take that qualitative data and turn it into quantitative. So it's turning qualitative into quantitative. So we might look through a certain speech or a piece of text, and we might count the number of times a positive word or a negative word is said. such as a speech by the Prime Minister or the President. And you're able to turn that into a number. Content analysis can follow on from thematic analysis. This is a non-experimental measure, remember, because it hasn't got an IV or a DV, the same as thematic analysis, of a piece of text. And by text, I mean anything. A magazine is a text. A TV show is a text. An interview is a text. Things like that. So you're going through and you're picking out, again, kind of the key themes, much like a thematic analysis, except this time you categorize them and then count them. Literally, it is exactly the same as a thematic analysis, except once you've got those themes, rather than then kind of summarizing what the people are really meaning and really seeing in a qualitative manner, you count them. And you can say this theme came up 8 times. This theme came up 20 times. Things like that. So it's very similar to thematic analysis, except at that last point, you count. You say how many times each of those themes has came up. Few key terms. The sample is the artifacts that we're looking at. So what the magazine is, what the TV show was, how many episodes you watched, who was interviewed, things like that. The coding system is, again, those categories that we're looking for, and then you tally them. So it's like a coding system in an observation where you tally a behavior, except this time it's tallying what is being said in the text, what is the discourse. And the results are, again, pretty much how many times every single thing came up. Strengths, weaknesses, this is unobtrusive and ethical. A lot of it's secondary data, so we're not actually doing anything. And we're not going to affect people, we don't hurt people, we don't do anything like that. And it allows us to freshly interpret existing data. So like kind of adding something new to data that's already been gathered. And we can assess reliability by either redoing the practical or getting someone else to redo it for us and getting some inter-rater reliability. Weaknesses, again, it's subjective. We're picking the themes. We're identifying what's going on. So it's very subjective in that manner. It might have some problems with validity. Are the themes the best themes to pick? Are they the whole themes? Are we missing themes out that we should be including? And it reduces complex information down to a simpler level, so we lose a lot of detail. Other than that, thematic analysis has all the strengths and weaknesses of qualitative data, and content analysis has all the strengths and weaknesses of quantitative. Right, thanks very much for listening.